Good morning and welcome to Jerry's Art for Breakfast. During the session, if you have any questions, please click on the Q&A function in the Zoom menu bar and type in your question. We will address your questions to the speaker. Today, I am proud to introduce Makita to you, a Japanese painter whose hyperdimensional abstract works link and explore concepts of organisms, animism, the boundary between the artificial and the natural. This morning, she is joining us from her studio in New York, where she is having her first solo exhibition. Please, Makita-san.
Thank you so much, Kawamura-san, for that very kind introduction. I really appreciate your support always. And also would like to thank the Asia Society of Japan for inviting me to this online conversation and for giving me such a great opportunity to make my presentation. Today, I would like to introduce myself and my artwork first. Then would like to have a little tour of my exhibition, which happens in New York and Tokyo. Then we'll finally talk about what I'm thinking to how it affects my work to work both in Tokyo and New York. So let me share my screen. I am a visual artist based in Tokyo and New York. I got MFA in Tokyo Art University in 2013. Then I come to New York in 2017 for the first time. Since then, I come back and forth between Tokyo and New York. Give me a second, please, sorry. Currently, I have a studio in Brooklyn in New York, which is a new artist in residency called ArtCake. My studio looks empty because I just have moved back to New York in June. So I'm going to create many artworks from now on. So let me show my works. I work mainly on oil painting. The images I'm showing now are not photography. They're hyperrealistic oil painting on canvas. The concept of my work is to create biological image by using artificial object made of materials such as metal and plastic as a motif. I often use machinery as motif, which has streamlined and organic shapes. The reason I started to use metallic objects for my work in the first place was because I was fascinated by the ambivalent nature of machinery. I was first attracted to the organic shape of motorcycle, but the machine was actually inorganic. Then I considered my work to represent living things such as animal, human, and natural landscape by using inorganic material. The concept gave form to my creation idea. Through the close observation of inorganic industrial product from various angles, seemingly organic biological forms begin to take shape. The smiling reflections of my paintings emphasize the notion of energy as it relates to light, as well as it relates to organic life energy. So let me explain my process. I take many photos of metallic objects at first. I'm always looking for materials that can be my motif in the city. Sometimes I create an object itself to take photos. Then I create one digital image by using Photoshop. processing the photos and patching them together using Photoshop. So this is the video of my work in progress on Photoshop. It usually takes 1 or 2 weeks for creating one digital image, because this process is the most creative time for my artwork. I carefully plan my painting image. After that, I transfer the image on a physical canvas. The way of transferring the image on the canvas depends on the project, but I often use acetone printing or single color printing or silk screen on canvas. Then finally start painting with oil paint by hand while looking at the digital image on the monitor. The oil painting process is the hardest and longest part. Some people ask me, like, do you use any specific materials for your painting? But I only use those 10 oil colors for most of my paintings. And this photo is a work in progress of 2 paintings. Then the finished ones. I'm smiling, but my back is very painful. So currently, I'm showing my artworks in Tokyo and New York. An exhibition in Tokyo is taking place at ANA Intercontinental Tokyo. So actually, this is my 5th time to exhibit my paintings there. This photo is the first one in 2018, thanks to Noriko Kashiwagi-san, the director of Art Platform Tokyo. The current exhibition is 2-person show with a painter, Mitsumasa Kadota-san. I'm exhibiting various sizes of paintings, including 120 inches wide, large-scale painting, and some small paintings. They are all brand new works. So this show runs until July 27. It's open to public and 24 hours access. If you are in Tokyo, please come to see my works. And the New York one. I'm having my solo show at a small project space called mhPROJECTnyc. It's located in East Village in Manhattan. The show was supposed to happen last year, but all the exhibitions were postponed due to pandemic. After experiencing pandemic, an idea for my show came across to my mind. I recently became very aware of boundary between inside and outside. Getting information about the outdoors from inside a house, communicating through a PC screen, staying in one's country without being able to travel abroad freely. So this solo exhibition, which titled HYPERDIMENSION, is a site-specific installation consisting of paintings, photos, and a movie used as a conduit to connect and explore the gap between inner and outer aspect of my work. So I will explain the exhibited works one by one. This is a large-scale illusory painting which titled Crustal Movement consists of 2 canvases combined at the corner of the gallery. These canvases are actually both trapezoid, but they merge to form a rectangular shape that jumps out from the gallery wall when viewed from a particular point. So the right side of this photo is taken from the other angle. Those are the same paintings but look different shape. This painting brings another perspective to the gallery space and confuses the viewer's senses. The wavy image are suggestive of Japanese earthquake and tsunamis, deceiving the viewers as though the image had moved inside the painting. The next one. This work titled Out and In is a collaboration work with architect Yuta Hosoya. I displayed 5 series for this installation. Our work is a set of 3. Hosoya took photos of the architectural landscape in New York City on the left, and he extracted some specific 2-dimensional outlines from the photos in the middle. Then, without looking at original photo, I create a painting on the right while using the 2-dimensional outlines in the middle as a reference point. This installation uses architecture as a motif symbolizing the inside and outside. And after extracting the outline information, I reconstructed as a painting reflecting my inner mental landscape. The next work. So this work titled Over the Window is also a site-specific collaboration with Yuma Kishi, a Japanese contemporary artist working with AI. So I placed a fixed point camera by the window at the gallery to capture the outside once every 30 minutes in a day from morning to evening. So then I sent the stills to Kishi. He created a time-lapse movie by rendering my 22 old painting images with the stills. So this video is a mixture of my paintings and the landscape from the gallery window. I wanted to create a work of window because a window is the threshold between inside and out and played an important role throughout the stay-at-home order amid pandemic. The monitor image now plays the role of another window for the gallery, intersecting with reality and fiction. So this show runs until August 8th. The public viewing hours are Saturdays and Sundays from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. If you are in New York, please stop by the project space and please visit my website to get more information, i-makita.com. So once this exhibition opened, so many people kindly came to see me and my works. I could meet new people every week. When I am in New York, I try to meet people as many as possible and invite them to my studio for showing my artworks. It's very hard for newcomer artists to get involved in the art world in New York, so I need feedbacks from many professionals to my artwork. I aim to explore new possibilities in my work. It's been 4 years since I've started to come back and forth between Tokyo and New York, but I sometimes face the same problem. That is, how can Japanese artists emerge in the West without the stigma of Japaneseness? I think many Asian artists feel forced to represent our culture to be a recognized artist in the West. It's not only Asian artists, but also it's true for the other racial artists. Japanese culture is, for example, anime, manga, and classic type of formats such as shodo, buto. I do appreciate the tradition, but I want to be an artist who uphold the tradition in a contemporary sense. For example, I create oil painting from the West, but my work can be, say, it comes from the sense of animism and Shintoism in terms of combining industrial product with biological image. So you can identify what makes the artist Japanese, yet it's seen differently. Anyways, I will keep going to work in New York and Tokyo, simply because it's very interesting to work in two cities that have different personalities. Things getting back to normal in New York thanks to the vaccine supply, but there are many issues left unsolved in the US. I think it's time for using our imagination. I'm looking for a day we can travel abroad more freely. So it's time for finish my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Makita-san. I'm very impressed in your wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. Now I have some question. Now you are having your first solo exhibition in New York. I'm curious about what reaction or feedback you have received from your audience. Good criticism or bad criticism or whatever.
Yeah, I got many feedbacks from my solo show in New York. Firstly, I expected visitors to see the large-scale painting at first because it's very standing out in the gallery. It's very large-scale. But people are most interested in the conceptual works, collaborate with the architect. And when I exhibit my works in Japan, most people ask me the technology of my painting. It's very different. And some visitors in New York ask me why you choose the metallic object for my motif. As I mentioned in the presentation, I'm very fascinated by the ambivalent nature of machinery made by human. And I think AI technology has become a natural part of our daily lives. But I want to explore the boundary between human and non-human. And yeah, so that the machinery motif that I use is a symbol of human technology. By using the motif, I want to visualize the gap between organic and inorganic. So I think there are many possibilities to represent the concept rather than painting. I think that so the collaboration work for the show was very meaningful for my future project. Yeah.
Right, thank you. And given that feedbacks, what do you think of the possibilities of Japanese contemporary artists, or what do they need to do to get more attention from the world art scene?
Yes, it's very hard, I think. So as a Japanese artist, I think we shouldn't be hesitate to communicate with people. I think it's the most important thing. And more important thing is to be confident for their own artworks. So it's just my feeling, but when I see the museum show and gallery show in New York, artists from the other Asian countries seems to have more confidence to represent their own concept, not concerned with their nationality, and they have individualism. So yeah, as an artist, I want to be such an artist.
Great, thank you very much. Now we would like to move to some questions from the online.
And the question is, as an artist, what are the biggest differences in working in Tokyo and in New York? What are the aspects of each community that you like and dislike? And what lessons can each learn from each other?
Actually, why I come to New York is I feel more, I can be a different personality, different artist in New York, because in Japan, I'm very closed person. I don't know how to say. I don't communicate well in Japan, but in New York, I meet many people and I meet many, I could get very many artists in New York, many artists. So, so I'm so nervous. Yeah, so it's very different from New York and Tokyo because the people are very different. People in art scene is very different. Even though I go to opening party in New York, people are very welcome, and I'm just a stranger, but people welcome me. So I think it's never happened in Japan. When I go to opening party in Tokyo, and it was my first time, if I go to the first time, it's very, how can I say, Japanese art community is very closed, and I can get involved in their community, specific community. So yeah, I think it's very different from New York and Tokyo.
Now, we have another question that's related to the last question, but I think you kind of answered the questions before, but what do you think is needed for a Japanese artist to succeed in the US or other global markets?
Yeah, it's very difficult. Yeah, it's yeah, as I mentioned, then so yeah, I think we need introduction and we need friend in art world in New York. We artists have to work alone in the studio, and artists have to promote themselves. So, but in New York, it's very hard to promote myself because everything is from introduction. So we need a connection. We need a connection first. Then someone introduced me to some galleries or museum or something. We just can stand at the starting point. So that's why I meet people as many as possible, and I want to have a connection in New York. And last time I was in New York, I only meet Japanese art people, but it's not so good. I try to meet American people, and I want to get involved in American art community. So this time I tried so hard.
There's another question that relates to your work, and the question is from an anonymous attendee, but it says, would you consider your paintings a language you have created between the two worlds, meaning Japan and the United States or New York?
Sorry, I don't get this question. What do you mean?
Well, I think it means the motifs and the language itself that you've created, is it a bridge that connects both Japan and United States?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a part of my reason for coming to New York, because I find the life in organic object. It's a little similar to American scientific fiction movie. So they have the idea of they create a robot which has mind or life. I have a similar feeling with this movie kind. And so I want to represent my artwork like that movie. I don't know, I can explain this well, but so my motive is very inorganic, but I want to represent organic image by my work. So it's very similar to American movie, scientist movie, like Transformer or Terminator. Yeah, so it's very different, different language, but yeah, I want to represent a kind of thing.
So there's another question that says, your overall theme of AI and the conjunction, your overall theme is on AI and conjunction of machine and human biology is brilliant, and it's very important for today. Can you tell us, you have mentioned this, in your talk today, but can you tell us a little bit more on how you came to this theme once again? Okay. What is your muse?
Thank you for the question. So the machinery motif that I use is a kind of symbol of human technology. And so a fear for the human technological catastrophe motivates me to create my artwork. So let's say currently there are several issues created by human beings, such as environmental disruption and the disaster of nuclear plant in Japan known as 3.11. So at the same time, I'm interested in the sublime, how human beings trying to reach the God by their technology. So people have been seeking a perfect beauty and absolute truth by reproducing an artificial sublime. So our pursuit of convenient human life is modern society has gradually shifted towards in human nature. So I want to represent that kind of idea in my painting.
There's actually two questions that are kind of in the same theme, but who are some of the artists that you look at that inspires your work? Who are your favorite artists?
My favorite artist is, for painter, Gerhard Richter. I don't know the English pronunciation. Richter, I like Richter because he's also trying to find a his work is very, his work looks inorganic for me, but the painting is very physical, physical painting, like oil painting. So I think slightly similar for my work. So yeah, my favorite artist is Richter.
York, Mike from Brooklyn, New York, and he says, this is a great presentation, so thank you for that. And have you discovered any American artists on any of your trips to New York that you realize later have inspired your work in some way?
I have a very good friend in New York, and he is very like Japanese. he's a very American, but his work is very Japanese because his work is so detailed, and he created small paintings by tiny brushes. So actually, I met him at the mhPROJECT. My show happens now. He exhibited there 2 years ago, and we first time met then, and we have good relationship, and we communicate each other in English. But I'm a very, my English is so broken, but we can communicate by our mind. So it's very interesting experience for me. So yeah. So thank you, Mick. So he visited my show 2 days ago. Thank you.
You said that you are exploring the boundaries with machines and human. Where do you find the boundaries at this point in time? And what do you think are the boundaries?
Yeah, so the boundary, so can I explain my deep concept? Actually, the original concept of my work has a little complex story. And when the Tohoku earthquake in 2011, I was traveling in Mexico with my friends. And when the outbreak of earthquake and tsunami, I got to know the disaster on Mexican broadcast. So I didn't understand Spanish at all, but I just watched the devastation visually. So I couldn't get the other information because social network and phone call to Japan didn't work at all at the time. So the visual information from digital screen looks at fiction, but it was reality. So that experience became my body of my artistic concept. I depicted a digital image by hand with oil painting, but because I want to represent the boundary between digital information and analog information. So that came from my experience in Mexico, the broadcast intersecting reality and fiction. So yeah, that's my starting point, and I keep working for the creating the concept for my work. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense for the question. Yeah, but yeah, AI and machine and human. So AI technology is very natural, as I said, and I feel very fear for the where is the boundary? I don't know the boundary, but I want to explore the boundary in my work. Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you. Do you think, depending on which city you're living in or situated, your boundaries expand more, or how does it change, do you think?
Sorry, I couldn't get the question.
Oh,
Okay,
when you're in New York or when you're in Tokyo, how do you see your boundaries change?
Oh, Okay. Very difficult questions.
ごめんなさい。
No problem. I don't think it's different because now many people can get information from internet, and our technology is not so different. And I'm concerned with technology. I'm very interested in human technology and human. So, yeah, Tokyo and New York is similar, but I feel New York has more humanity by even they using the technology, they keep their humanity. I was really impressed by the sense, and the sense motivates me to create my artwork. Yeah, Tokyo is very, how can I say, it's very artificial, very artificial, I think. But New York is living, I think. Yeah, so the difference is like that.
That's an interesting observation. In terms of, there's another question that came into the Q&A box, and this relates to diversity. So gender equality and diversity have become an ongoing theme in the art world these days. Can you talk to us a bit about the situation of this theme amongst artists in Japan?
Yeah, so yeah, thank you so much for your question, Noriko-san. It's very hard to answer correctly, but then gender, yeah, I didn't feel any gender problem so far, but yeah, maybe I didn't see the reality. So I just work in the studio and go to the gallery and meet people, but yeah, people are very sensitive for the gender and the kind of racism, like, but yeah, so yeah, I will look at that from now, and I will tell you when I come back to Japan. Sorry, I didn't feel anything so far.
Thank you. This is a question from me personally, but do you know what do you think is next for you? You know, you've had your first show in New York, and you've had several shows in Tokyo. Where do you think you are going to be going next?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I have several exhibitions in Tokyo in September and October, November. I'm so busy now, and so, but I want to get opportunity in New York, and I'm trying so hard to get opportunity. So, but I have to create many paintings for the exhibition in Japan now. So I have to focus on the shows so far. And yeah, so next year I have 2 solo shows in Japan. So I only have exhibition in Japan so far. Yeah, I want to have opportunity in New York, but Yeah, so I will invite many people to my studio from now. But yeah, I don't have much work now, but I got many collections in the exhibition, my solo show in East Bridge. So yeah, I keep trying.
Thank you, Makita-san. There's no more questions. And finally, do you have any comments?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to this conversation, and really, it was really grateful for me. And I want to thanks to all the committee and member in Azure Society, and thank you so much, Kawamura-san and Hidaka-san. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. I hope I wish you a big success in your solo exhibition in New York. And I strongly believe your artworks variation will become 100 times more. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us today. And I would like to close today's session. And let's give her a big applause by clapping your hands, by raising your hands. Thank you very much.
Thank you.